Okay, summer is already upon us. And last year, it was the hottest temperatures ever recorded on Earth, like ever. It was so hot, I almost quit van life.
2023 was the hottest year we have ever recorded.
And lucky us, this year we are promised an even hotter summer, hotter than last year. And isn't that just such a pleasant and lovely thing to look forward to? It's gonna be an oven in the van again. I thought it would be smart to kind of refresh my memory, to review the things I've done in the past to survive in the summertime, as well as ponder what new things can I try. Every year that I start summer van life, I feel like I've made a mistake. I feel like quitting. Turns out it's extraordinarily difficult to think properly when you're in an oven. So what are the tried and true methods, and what new things am I gonna try out? Number one, tried and true, is to just get out of the sun. You're in a van. You don't have to be in the places that are the hottest. You can absolutely go north, find elevation, just be somewhere that's not too hot. However, it's not always possible, or it's not always possible to do immediately. Like sometimes there's just reasons why you might have to stay in a certain area for a period of time, or like sometimes when you find yourself next to national parks or just locations that are on your bucket list, it's places you legitimately want to visit, it seems like a shame to leave. So if for whatever reason you have to stay in a warmer area, the second best thing is of course to find shade. In a perfect world, all our vans would fit into like a covered garage. However, parking garages tend to have low clearance. So I have to go for the second best thing, which is to find trees or to sit in the shade of a building. This can sometimes be more difficult. The trees are on me. I don't need any squirrels or anything weird crawling in just because I'm so close to this tree. Okay, thank you. You could also potentially create your own shade by literally throwing a tarp over your van or using your awning, which I do technically have, but because I tend to do more of an urban lifestyle in my van, creating my own garage or opening the awning, usually not an option, but just be aware that those things really help. So if you're in an area where that's an option, absolutely do it. Because my awning is on the right side of my vehicle, and I believe in most RVs that tends to be the case, then I generally want the right side of my vehicle to be facing the sun, and that will help keep the car cool. However, because I don't use my awning, I tend to point my entire vehicle so that my windshield is the thing that's getting the most sun, because I'm most likely not hanging out in the front of the vehicle. I'm gonna hang out in the back of the vehicle. So the front can go ahead and get a little more sun, won't bother me, especially because I'm also covering the front of the RV. Now, speaking of covering your windows, whether it's with Reflectix or curtains, the number one mistake that people make is to block ventilation. In the heat, when you're in an oven, you want to open your windows, probably open your doors, and let as much airflow happen as you can. I know opening doors can be weird, especially for longer periods of time in the city, but if you're in a safe place, which is of course where we should always be, feel free to just open the doors. Like, I think people underestimate the dangers of having heat stroke, heat exhaustion. We usually have to keep everything open. And I know, it's starting to rain. Rain can be epic for keeping temperatures down, but it does make it a little more challenging to keep all your doors and windows open. So when you can't have all your windows open, is to create like a wind tunnel. I'm also going to stage fans kind of strategically through the RV so that I can kind of suck the air from the outside and move it all to the back. Obviously, I'm also going to be opening the back window to allow the airflow to go through. Now, any window that doesn't open, of course, gets covered, and any window that's not providing a lot of help with the airflow can also be covered. So in my case, the two windows in the cab, I'm probably opening. My side windows, depending, I might actually close those windows just to encourage airflow from the biggest windows to go all the way to the back of the RV. I hope that makes sense. So combination, Reflectix, opening, closing windows to create the maximum airflow. But I absolutely want to stress, when it's not raining like it is right now, there is a benefit to opening just all your doors and just letting the air do its thing. Like, just don't be afraid. Don't feel like you have to be like stuck in this oven, not opening perfectly functioning doors and windows. Next tried and true is to not create additional heat in the RV. I feel like that's pretty obvious, but this means I'm not going to cook in the RV. I'm also probably not going to cook outside. Like, because I'm already hot, I'm going to focus mostly on staying hydrated. So important. And then I'm gonna focus on salads, cold sandwiches, fruits, or uncooked veggies. But I'm not gonna create additional heat, which means when I go grocery shopping, I just need to keep that in mind, right? I have to think of alternative things we can eat that doesn't require cooking. I don't make any tea, I don't make any coffee. Like, it's waters, fruit drinks, completely cold food. Now, while I avoid cooking, I obviously try to have as many cold things in the RV as possible. So having a cooler, having a fridge, highly recommend. So it's kind of obvious that you wouldn't want to cook in the RV. What's less obvious is just having things in the RV that retain heat really well. So this is not always possible depending on how long you're RVing, where all you're going. The more things that are in the vehicle, the more things you have kind of holding on to heat, unless it's designed to be cool, which we'll talk about later. But obviously, if I've got lots of bedding, like, that's lots of bedding holding and retaining heat. But not just blankets, like, just a lot of things have a tendency to retain heat. So I've started the process of just going through my vehicle, pondering, am I actually going to use this over the summer? And if not, it goes out of the RV to, one, just make room for the things that I do want in here. But two, the less things are in here, the better the wind tunnel will be, as well as, again, things just hold heat. So getting rid of unnecessary items in your RV, always a smart thing to do. I also look really closely at my clothing. I tend to be a shirts and jeans kind of gal, but in the dead of summer, if I'm in a hot location, jeans, not very forgiving. So this is when I find myself embracing loose fitting, kind of flowy pants, flowy skirts, flowy dresses, wearing hats. I even change the type of bra that I wear just to maintain comfort. And my very last tried and true method that you can do, even if you have a dog, is to just get out of the van. Find places outside of the van that you can go, especially during the hottest part of the day, to just not be in the van when it's hot. Now, with a dog, this can get a little more complicated because there's a lot of places I cannot take my dog. Obviously, because my dog is not a service animal, I can't take him to the grocery store. I can't take him to the gym. I can't, like, there's just a lot of places you can't go, but there's also enough places you can go. So obviously you've got your pet stores, you've got your craft stores, so your Michaels, your Joann's, your Hobby Lobby. You have places like Home Depot. Most Barnes and Nobles will allow your pet to come in. And while this is not maybe an official thing you can do, if you have a smaller dog and can fit him into a bag of some sort, I've taken my dog Henry into places like museums or stores that do not sell food. Speaking of restaurants though, I do go to restaurants with Henry. I just go to restaurants where there's outside seating with a cover. So you can go to a restaurant with a dog. You just can't go inside a restaurant with a dog unless it's a service animal. In the summer, I do not leave my dog alone unless I know that the RV is definitely cool enough. And usually this means I'm parked somewhere where I can plug in and turn my AC on, or it's the dead of night, or the sun is down and the RV has cooled off enough where I know I can leave, take a shower, and come back. But otherwise, I'm carrying the dog with me. Now, those are air-conditioned buildings that I'm talking about, but similar to how opening your windows can cool down your RV, you can go on a hike, you can go on a walk. There's a lot of outdoor activities that has shade and that has wind. So while it sounds like you're going towards the sun, right? Like you're leaving the cover of the vehicle and you're going outside where the sun is, sometimes outside where the sun is so much more comfortable than inside where the heat is. So if at all possible, do not suffer through the heat. Go someplace cool. So those are the tried and true methods I've used in the past. Let's talk about the things that I am incorporating for this year. And these are tips and tricks that I've learned from other channels or other blogs on how to stay cool in the car, and things that when I first heard them, I'm like, is it that big of a deal? Listen, in the summer, every half degree absolutely helps. And so the first thing that I did in preparation for summer this year is I finally bought bug netting for the front windows. Guys, it's an absolute game changer. In the past, I have been willing, and I'm still willing, to open windows, open doors. I don't care if I don't have bug netting. If I'm hot, I'm hot. I need the doors open. Most places honestly don't have that many bugs. So bug netting has been something that I really didn't think was that big of a deal. So one, obviously amazing that I can get airflow while guaranteeing no bugs coming in. The thing I didn't think about, the thing I didn't realize is that the bug netting also provides a little bit of shade on a hot sunny day when maybe the shade I found is not quite perfect, right? Sometimes the shade doesn't cover my entire RV, it only covers a part. If, by the way, you can only find partial shade, then do your best to have that shade covering the part of the vehicle where you're going to hang out. So again, if I'm hanging out in the back of the RV, I'm going to try to position so that at least the back of the RV is covered in shade, which means there are times where the front of my RV is still getting a significant amount of sun. So of course I cover the windshield. Now with the bug netting, I'm actually adding more shade into the front of the vehicle. It's a complete win-win. I don't know why people don't talk about the fact that it's also giving a little bit of shade. And like I said, in the summer, a little bit of shade is infinitely better than no shade at all. So that's number one. Number two, I love my 3 huge windows, but they are aimed directly in the center of the vehicle. And while I am still too stubborn to actually put Reflectix or fully cover the 3 windows, I love being able to see outside my vehicle. I don't know if there's ever going to come a time where I'm willing to actually cover them, but I did give in to the recommendations on adding some tint. So I have tinted my 3 windows, and literally as I was putting the tint on, the RV was getting cooler. The tint isn't miracle working, okay? We are probably just talking about a couple of degrees, but nevertheless, as I'm putting the tint on, the RV got cooler. I'm happy. Even though it's tinted, I can still see pretty clearly outside. So finally tinted these 3 windows. I'm a very happy camper. All right, the next item I got is because sometimes when I do open all my windows, I do in fact get bugs. So I purchased a bug zapper, not directly related to staying cool, but more staying comfortable while keeping all my doors and windows open. And I also purchased my first electric fridge. It might be a little bit funny because my camper van already has a fridge. However, the fridge the RV has is a Dometic 3-way, so I can be on house battery power. I can be, of course, plugged in at a campsite, or I can just have propane powering the fridge. Here's my issue with my fridge, a little pet peeve. My fridge works really well when I'm using propane and when the RV is level. Propane and level. Even when I'm plugged into a campsite, which to be fair, I do not often do, but even when I'm plugged into a campsite, the fridge will start to warm up. It just does not stay very cool. Like the butter is melting, the cheese is wilting. Like it's the things I want refrigerated do not stay as cool as they need, which means I can't have a lot of food in there because then a lot of food will go bad, right? So plugged in, not the best. Battery power, definitely not the best. And so my fridge stays the coolest and the best with propane. Problem with propane is the vehicle has to be very, very level. I learned that very quickly starting van life. I wasted so much money on groceries that I had to throw away because I thought I was level enough, but I wasn't level enough. So the meats and the butter and the cheese, it would just go bad really quickly. So then I would have to pack everything up and go to the store again to get new groceries, come back to the campsite, hopefully be level enough, and hopefully allow the fridge to go. Because while I'm driving, the fridge will be getting warm. Let's say I take, my son to the zoo or something. I have to take the whole house with me, right? Because I'm in a motorhome. So I'll go to the zoo. The zoo parking lot may or may not have perfectly level parking spots, but I get what I get. And so while I'm at the zoo, my fridge is warming up. Does that make sense? Like my first season of van life, I did, I would say 60 to 70% actual camping, like finding boondocking locations, going to places where we could just sit and chill. I loved it. And in that kind of circumstance, my Dometic fridge was perfect, especially once I learned how important it is to be level. There are various tips and tricks for helping your van level out. So it worked out really well. My current season of van life, I'm doing a lot more urban camping, sleeping in parking lots, sleeping at rest stops. I'm driving every day. I'm driving multiple times a day to different spots. I'm not staying in one camping spot for multiple days, which means my fridge is kind of pointless. Like it's just not very helpful for that style of van life, which is why last year during the summer and this year during spring break, I just brought coolers. I bought ice, stuck it in a cooler, put my food in the cooler. That's what I've been doing. It's not a bad system. It worked pretty decently. But for this summer, I did purchase, I think it's a 15-quart fridge that is only electric, and we're gonna test it out. The benefit is when I'm driving and when I'm going places, the fridge should be able to stay cool because I can plug it in. It's designed to stay cool with electric, so it should work. I'll let you know in the future if I think it was the best decision or not, but either way, we are trying that. For now, I'm not getting rid of the Dometic fridge. Like, why would I? It does work when I have that style of van life. I do plan on doing that style of van life in the future. It's just not something I'm doing in this season. So for now, I will be traveling with 2 fridges, only one of which I actually use. And we're just going to test it out. Now, because I purchased the fridge, I also had to replace my portable battery. So I did purchase a Jackery. I purchased the 1000 watt Jackery because it was on sale and it was only a little bit more expensive than the 500 watt, so might as well. So this will just add to some of the power that I have available to me during my travels for powering the fridge, powering additional fans, as well as, of course, powering my laptop. And last but not least, because I have a dog, I got a cooling pad, which is actually a pretty big size. Like, I think a person can use this, as well as I got him some shoes. Let's see if he figures out how to walk in them to hopefully ease the situation of where he can walk, where he cannot walk. So we'll see. We'll see how those go. So those are my tried and true how to stay cool in the RV methods, as well as a couple of things that I'm going to try out this summer. Please let me know in the comments if I've missed something, because like I said, every summer I go through at least a short brain fart phase where I just forget, or it's not even forgetting, I'm too hot to think clearly. So the more tips and tricks that I know, the higher the chance that I will have the ability to use at least one of them. Let me know all your tips and tricks. We have to help each other out. This summer is scheduled to be brutal. We need all the help we can get.